What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Hey, before we start the episode, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. You want to make a comment? Go for it. It's America. If you catch me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit me with those 5 stars. I appreciate the support. Let's start the show. Folks, welcome back to Beyond the Frequency 369. I'm your host, Cesar Pagan. And today I have a fellow podcaster. And, I would consider you a friend. Are we friends?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're absolutely friends, right? And I think, Bennett, I went ahead and found you through social media, right? Some feeds came up, thought it was pretty interesting. And then I don't know if I had another friend of mine on your show or you were on their show, but either way, the conversation as always was fantastic, just like a lot of your guests. And then somehow we connected. I think you reached out to me and then I came on your show and then we did that. So it's time to flip the script. Now you're on my show and let's tell your story. So I'm interested in having that conversation because you and I we've been in contact, but I know what I've seen on social media and off of your shows and with your guests, but I don't really know your story. And so I'm like, man, it's like long waiting and overdue. So Bennett, why don't you just start off by telling us what your podcast is and more importantly, why do you do it?
Yeah. So thank you for having me on, obviously. I mean, we've been talking now. Brad Lale is really who was the linchpin.
That's what it was. Yeah. Brad Lale. What's up, Brad? With the Waken podcast. That's his podcast. So check it out, guys.
He's doing some cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So my podcast, this one is called Broadcasting Seeds. I do have other podcasts right now, which is a glutton for punishment, but I just can't focus, man. Sometimes I can, but at the end of the day, it's part of the reason why Broadcasting Seeds is Broadcasting Seeds. Because I can't just stay in one little niche. I just can't do it, man. It's like against who I am. So I take all the different conspiracies, UFOs, cryptids. I mean, Bigfoot was kind of my gateway to all this, but paranormal, I've had paranormal experiences. And I've always been real into, alternative religion, all the things, man. And I just can't. So Broadcasting Seeds is all about planting seeds in people's minds to just make them think. That's it. You think outside the box.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good though. But and I want to clarify. So you have another podcast, but is it just strictly like one niche, one topic?
I have three niche podcasts. One is this is like national security, which is everything. And that's part of like my job, I guess you could say, I do that one for work. And then I've got a Bigfoot specific called Whispers of the Wood Ape. And then I've got another history podcast that is kind of lagged behind because I've really been working on like alternative histories that are still mainstream, but, deeper. That's a deeper podcast. It's called Seeds of History. And those episodes are farther and fewer in between, but
Yeah. So man, so you got a lot of, you're kind of spreading yourself thin. So which one is your pride and joy right now? Or which one are you focusing the most on right now?
I focus the most on this one, Broadcasting Seeds, and then Full Spectrum Frontiers as well. I don't really I get paid to do that one. So
you got to do it.
Kind of got to do it, right? But it's something that's near and dear to my heart, which is national security. And national security is everything. Not just the military, not just kinetic action, right? It's also where our food comes from. It's, our healthcare system. All of that is national security. So we literally talk about everything. So
yeah, that's interesting though. So okay, so you mentioned Bigfoot, and correct me if I'm wrong. Was Bigfoot your gateway into this supernatural or cryptid?
Yeah.
Talk to me about
Actually,
that.
my first experience was a paranormal experience with ghosts. So I guess that would be my gate, but my real gateway is cryptids. Is I just man, I've ever since I had an experience when I was like 11, probably 12 at the most, but 11. Where me and two other kids came face to face with I have to say it was Sasquatch.
Yeah,
It was.
face to face,
Yeah,
like
pretty much like within 10 feet, man. That
wow.
sucker was there. Like I could smell, and this early.
Yeah. Tell us.
The
Yeah,
first thing that hit us, that first thing that hit me was just the smell, like awful.
what it smell like? Yeah,
Yeah, it smelled like I, the best way is like swamp bacteria, right? With a combination of then like a wet animal, and then what did I say? Sprinkle a decomp.
pretty good Dean Com. Yeah.
Man, and so it had like that kind of sick, sweet smell. Man, it's definitely something on its own. And it's one of those things that comes up in other people's sightings as well, as they have the same type of smell. And I've smelt it twice. Once that in that incident, and then another one later on, about 7 years later, in an entire country away. So the first one was in Illinois, and the second one was in Alaska.
Wow. So when you smelled it that second time, you were like, I know what that is.
I know what this is. Yeah. Literally, it was like in bed. And if I smell it again, it's ingrained, you know?
And I mean, have you, okay, well, first of all, one thing that I do know about you is that you also served in the military, right? So did you ever do any combat? Did you smell any death, anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to,
I know it. When I say decomp, I know what it smells.
Okay. All right. Just get a little bit of baseline there and stuff. So, okay, the one in Illinois, 11 years old, you came face to face, you were with some friends. What was the deal with that situation? How did you get there?
We were in the Boy Scouts, and we were camping. This big campground that we used to go to all the time. And there'd been legends. There's legends there about Sasquatch or Bigfoot type creatures, right? With the Native Americans and folks that are from the area. And it's not unheard of to have sightings there, but they're farther and fewer in between.
Where's this campsite? Do you remember?
It's in McLean County, Illinois. So not too far. I think it's called Lake Bloomington, maybe, is the lake that it's on. And the campsite used to be, I think it was called Camp Heffernan, something like that. But it was like 40 years ago.
Yeah. It wasn't too long ago. It wasn't too long ago.
So we had camped in this like my squad, I guess is what you would call it. My squad, every squad got to choose where they would set up, and we set up in this pine forest all the time because it was comfortable, man. You had this like thick mat of pine needles, and it was always just comfortable. Right. And you could hear, I'm a sucker for like whispering pines. Right. So you hear that wind going through the pine trees. It's just super calming. So as a kid from a chaotic, family life, I was just like always looking for those things to calm down. And so that was one of them. Well, we were late for dinner. They had the scoutmasters would stay in a cabin, and that's usually, and there was also we would also do, they'd have like, cookouts and stuff, but it was always right there. That was the central location. So we were late, we were running, and there's this like drainage ditch that runs along that goes down to the lake. And there's these hedgerows that also go down, or I don't think they're there anymore, but they used to be, that lined a road that would go down to like where they had like a boat launch maybe and some stuff like that to go out in the water. So these hedgerows were like 10 feet tall. And we would crawl under just to cut, 'cause otherwise, we're lazy boys. We didn't want to walk all the way down to the end of the hedgerow to cut around. We wanted to cut through, right? So that's usually the way that we would go. Well, we jumped this drainage ditch, and like the best way to describe it is the hedgerow just exploded. And there was this just god awful scream, roar. Like it was kind of like so many things, kind of like the smell. It wasn't just one thing. It was like just this like roar, scream, like you could feel it, right? in front of us, but you could also see, because whatever it was like shaking the tree, but when it would do this, it would pull them apart, and you could see the silhouette because the setting sun was behind it, and it just had this massive, it was just massive. And its head was it was about 8 feet up. So the head row was about 10 feet, and it was like, right, it was about 2 feet low.
Before you continue, all right, so this thing was so massive that it was basically just bending. Now, how big were these trees that it was bending?
Well, they're big. I mean, it's, it's a hedgerow. Like, imagine World War II hedgerow, like probably 2 feet wide. Yeah, I'd say about 2 feet wide, but these went on for, 200 feet. Like they were long.
Gotcha.
And it was just shaking. And when it would do this, you could see the outline.
Gotcha.
Of a head and shoulders. Couldn't see like color, there was no like glowing eyes or anything like that. It was just an outline. 8 feet tall.
Now, let me ask you this though, about how far of a distance were you and this thing?
10 to 15.
Okay, so 10 to 15 feet. Was it like at nighttime?
Yeah, well, the sun was it was definitely
setting,
and the sun was already down, so it was that dusk.
That does. So if a normal, like a camp counselor or whatever case is, was there instead of the Bigfoot that you had saw, would you been able to just see the camp counselor's features, or would you have also seen just more of a silhouette? What do you think?
I don't know, man. That's a good question.
Yeah. Because that makes me think, though. I mean, again, if the thing is taller, maybe obviously there's more shadow and everything.
For sure.
But anyways, continue.
But please. Yeah, but at the end of the day, when it comes, like, there's no human making the sound that came out.
No, yeah, I got you.
I mean,
yeah,
and that's what really sticks with me. And it was one of those things where you just you felt it as much as you heard it, right? And it was one kid that was with us freaked and he lost it. I mean, we all lost it, but he started screaming and we just took a right. We did not keep going straight. We took a right and ran. Probably we had to run about a quarter of a mile to get to where our camp area, where the adults were, I guess you could say. And we were I've never run so fast in my life,
Yeah. And did you guys ever go back?
I mean, yeah, we've been in the area. We went back to sleep.
Right.
The one kid did not, but the other two of us did. But we were with like 10 other kids too. So we were.
And did they know that you were going back there to go see this thing?
Yeah, we heard. We told everybody, and they were like,
"Okay, yeah."
But we didn't really get a good look at the area that it was in until the next day. And the only thing, there was no footprints, but there was a lot of leaves missing, that had fallen on the ground. But other than that, there wasn't.
That at that age and time, did you ever hear about Bigfoot stories? Did you hear?
So that was one of the things too, is at that, and I could be wrong, but I don't know where. You know how memory is, man. It's not good usually, but I distinctly remember, and I'm pretty sure it was there was like a parade ground. That's the best way I would describe it. Just a giant field at the center of this whole place, right? And there was this stump there that had like a chair cut into it, right? And I feel like it could have been just a story that somebody was telling us. I feel like I read a plaque that was on this chair, and it talked about it was a legend, native legend, that they would, in essence, sacrifice girls to this Sasquatch-like creature. That they would put the girls up on this seat, and then
wait for the Bigfoot or thing to come and grab her,
and then the girls would disappear.
Yeah.
So that was a story that I remember, but
you can't. Yeah.
I'm not positive that that's exactly where it was, or who knows, man. Stuff.
Well, I would say, I think what sticks with you the most outside of thought memory is the feeling, right?
Oh yeah.
So if the feeling speaks louder to you than the memory, I would say it happened to you.
Yeah.
Or you've experienced it, So, because there's a lot of times that it's like high school. There's certain events that you don't remember the details about it, like what people said or what was on a particular test, but the experience of the event, like you remember it, you know?
Yes, for sure.
So I'm with you. I'm with you, Bennett. So yeah, so I don't think none of that was a story. If it's still something in remembrance today,
I mean, when I think about it, I get chills.
Yeah.
So, there is a trauma connected to that,
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
what I'll call it, because
Absolutely.
it was. And like, I'm not saying I don't have nightmares, but it happens, things, and you're just like, you remember, like, things will flash, when I'm out in the woods doing research now. You're just like, man, like
that roar, you won't forget that.
And I've actually heard that something very similar, but it sounded, frankly, the way I would describe it is it was from a more like juvenile or maybe a female Sasquatch, because it didn't have the bass to it. But this happened 2 years ago in Pennsylvania. So yeah.
Interesting.
And I'm actually going back there this coming weekend. So
to the same place, same camp,
same place, same.
Is that just for like recreational purposes or research?
No, we do research there. So there's a bunch of us that do that, and then we're actually filming a documentary, man. So,
well, congrats on that.
Goes.
We'll yeah. Have you ever done those things where you like go to that same spot close to where you were at, close your eyes, and just try to like put yourself back into that place?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay. And yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm going to actually do, because we've talked that I'm also a Reiki practitioner.
Yes, you are.
So I'm going to do a field experiment where I'm literally going to like go to this. It's a cryptid hotspot. At least it is for us. We've had instances with a few different instances with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, but there's also this last time that we were there, we found big dog prints. And I don't know, who knows? It could be a giant dog or it could be dog man or whatever, you choose.
I heard of a dog. I've heard of, Rye, obviously from Codegas.
Yeah. So it's the Codex, Curiosities of God. Why?
Yeah, I know.
It happens to me every time.
I'll put it on the screen for folks. Codex of Curiosity. That's what it is.
I know I'd get there.
Yeah, we'll get there and stuff. But yeah, that's the first time that I heard of like the term dog man.
Yeah.
And
it's terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, and what's the other podcaster? Tinfoil Hats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't he Bennett also?
Tripoli.
Isn't he also Bennett? I think that's his name.
I don't know. Maybe. Tinfoil Hat? Tinfoil Hat or because Tinfoil Hat.
Tinfoil Tales.
Tinfoil Tales.
Man, we're going to get all these messed up and everything. We'll figure it out. But yeah, Tinfoil Tales. I think it's Tinfoil Tales. But he also mentioned Dogman. He's also currently doing, as far as I know, some documentaries right now. Like he's out in the woods, Ghostbuster gear, all that good shit. Like just,
right.
Yeah, so that's gonna be exciting to see what the both of you guys individually put.
One of the things I want to do is go out there and ground myself, and then do a Reiki session focused outward on the land and like any entities present, maybe, and document the sensations, changes in the environment, anomalous reactions. Sounds, feelings, EMF. I've got all the EMF meters and stuff, and got a ton of cameras. So we're going to do that as part of this whole thing. So we'll see. You never know.
How do you protect your energy when doing stuff like this?
Yeah, I literally put on armor. I mean, not literally, but in the energy sphere, I put on armor for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
Do you have a particular way that you visualize? Because I'm always interested in how everyone has their own visualization. Like let me tell you this. The way I do it is I actually imagine like the Iron Man suit flying in and like just.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Did I tell you that?
But I think it was on one of Brad's.
On somebody's. Yeah, I envision it that way. And again, it's all about your vision. but
Yeah,
it's fun.
I don't, so I say armor, but mine's not actually armor. It's
Yeah.
more of a light. And I just kind of like, sit in it and kind of, it just, surrounds me.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yeah. So it's not, so it's armor, but it's more of like a force field.
Yeah.
That's
I like it. Bubble, force field,
Yeah,
armor,
right.
whatever. As long as you are protected before you start engaging in all that good stuff. I'm glad you're doing that.
Because I've definitely had things, hitchhikers, I guess you would call them, over the years.
How have you found out that you've had a hitchhiker?
So it's not just, but it's like entities in general.
Yeah.
I've had for years, I feel like I had I guess you would call it like a Lilith type entity that
Wow, that's deep.
was hooked to me.
Wow. Now, Bennett, so for those that may not be familiar with a Lilith entity, can you give us a little foundation of what Lilith or who she was?
Lilith is it's a dark feminine energy. And now, I mean, there's all kinds of stories of who Lilith is, and that goes from everything to, biblical side where she was Adam's first wife and was like, no, I won't be subject to you, yada, 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 to, as a Mesopotamian goddess. There's stories of that. There's also that she's basically the queen of hell. That's another version, right?
Yeah. What's the one that you're familiar with?
So I say, I am familiar with this, like more of like a succubus type entity, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be Lilith. I'm just saying it was Lilith-like. Like that's the way
I got you.
Because it was abusive and sexual in nature. So it was kind of like a manifestation, because I was an abused kid, stuff. That's the whole story, right?
So you
with the freaking violin.
Dude,
you know what I'm saying? And I didn't go there. But but with that trauma as a kid, it opens doors, and you have a tendency to invite things in. Not necessarily invite. You're leaving doors open, and then you let things in, right? You don't necessarily have to. What is the word? Where you agree to it, but consent.
Like,
you don't have to give it consent. The word consent.
Yeah.
So you don't have to consent to it all the time. Sometimes the door being open's consent enough, right? But at the end of the day, I did not consent to this. And I just, for years, I had this weird relationship around women and nightmares and sexual stuff, like just weird, like just not good for my soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I always felt like it was, whatever that was, telling me to like watch porn and all this stuff, just not like deviant stuff, but just not healthy. Right.
Right.
And so that
the fact that you became aware of that is huge.
Yeah. And that didn't happen until like it was like last year, the year before that.
Yeah, so how long were you probably carrying this then? We're talking about like a decade or two?
Yeah. I'd say at least 20 years.
Okay. And was it
now, because hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
You start analyzing everything.
Yeah.
You're like, holy crap, that happened probably, like this, you can see the influence.
Yeah.
And now that it's gone, I don't feel it. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course. There
you go.
And it's not like you're not giving, and it's not like I was like possessed, right? And like doing things against my will. That's not how that worked. It was, at least not in my waking state. In my dream state, there's plenty of times when it was straight up attack, not good. And yeah.
Are you a fighter in your dreams or no?
I mean, it depends.
Depends.
My kids are there, stuff's going down. It's getting dealt with.
Forget light armor. We're going straight Hulkbuster.
Yeah, I'm straight like door kicker back in session, all this stuff. We were talking the other day about, because, when I was in the Marines and in the Army, I carried like an M4. And I picked one up the other day. It's just an extent. It like doesn't leave you. It's an extension of my body now.
It is, yeah.
I mean, I still have the calluses from the selector switch.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's there always. And it's like a big,
it's a reminder. Yeah.
Of a past life.
Well, it's hard to take the military man out of yourself.
Yeah, it is. It is, but it's definitely, it's needed. I try to like help. I help other veterans try and move away from that because the stuff you did does not define who you are, whether you're proud of it or you're not, because there's plenty of people that are not proud of what they've done. Right. And whether you're proud or not, it happened and you just got to deal with it and deal with it, in a way that's good for you and your brothers and sisters and kids and wife and,
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And again, thank you for your service as well. I know we hear that a lot, but thank you for that. And no one made you to join, right?
Yeah, true story. And I appreciate it. And same to you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Man, dude, I wonder. So, okay, one thing that you guys need to know about Bennett is that in the short time that I had initially met him, Bennett, after I posted, upcoming episodes on my podcast or any kind of clips, I started seeing that Bennett was also like reposting them on his social media and things like that. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but why is he doing that? And you gave me a good phrase. Can you say what that phrase is about the tides?
Yeah, because rising tides raise all ships.
Yeah, dude, I love that. Like, I don't have any in my repertoire of quotes. I don't have anything with tides in it. So that's why it's easy for me to remember. But what a gracious thing that you do, because I think you also mentioned that like when I rise, you rise and vice versa,
sure.
and we help each other out. Where did that come from? Where did that mindset come from?
It's definitely, I could look back at like the Boy Scouts and say, oh, I was there, but where it really was solidified was, sports and then the military, undoubtedly. Really, the military after I got, you don't realize, your brothers and sisters that are there when you're in, right? And they don't all, you don't continue to be there with those people all the time. But I remember an incident where I was hurting, man, like just not doing well. I somehow, I can't remember if it was, I think it was Facebook, because that was really the first big social media other than MySpace. But
MySpace, though, damn, you just brought something back. I forgot about. Damn. No, I think the big.
MySpace technically is still around.
No, is it really?
And if I'm not mistaken, Justin Timberlake owns it. You can fact check me, everyone, on that.
Yeah,
but I think it's true, and it's basically music based at this point. But I don't know if it actually still is like a published platform. But I'm pretty sure Justin Timberlake owns it.
So let me just make sure. So you're saying, just make sure we can look this up. You mentioned that MySpace was bought out maybe by JT. But it's now strictly just like a music streaming.
I think that's mainly what they do.
Oh, that's cool. That's interesting.
I haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I think that's what it kind of is.
Fun fact, boys and girls, in case if you're curious,
let's check it out. See if it's still there.
Yeah.
Where was I going? Oh
no.
So buddy of mine had seen. I can't remember. He saw something and he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And then that just kind of. What it showed me is the power of connection and just being there for your buddies, right? Because him and I went through a lot of crap, and so him reaching out to me, and then and he's actually passed away at this point, unfortunately, but not from he got sick and passed away. But at the end of the day, I kind of look at him as like not saving my life, but just showing me the path, kind of, because he had been out for a little while. And then, heading down that road of being able to deal with the issues that we went through, individually. And also, that stuff gets dicey.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad you had people there because, a lot of military vets talk about, remembering how it felt to be with a family, your brothers and your sisters and things like that, especially because of the things that we've experienced together with these once strangers and now, their family, right? But there's also folks in the military that don't feel that, even though that they're in an organization, a squadron, a company, whatever the case is, they still feel by themselves. So let me ask you this: regarding the whole like supernatural and cryptic stuff, did you talk a lot about this to any of your brethren in the military, or was this after you got out?
This was mainly after I got out, but I mean, it was always a thing. It was always like, oh yeah, man, I've had a Bigfoot experience, or I've had a paranormal experience, things like that. And it was always kind of, it was always there. Like, when we deployed to Bosnia the first time, we were going in and out of some pretty spooky places, man.
Yeah.
It was, but just meaning like, and they're like, oh, do you think it's haunted here? And I'm like, whatever. But it was always funny. But it was, and then you guys, when alcohol gets involved, you guys talk about the dumbest stuff, man.
Yeah. I mean,
so there was always
dumb or truth,
But part of it too came about that's really, so that deployment, this was in 1999, where I really got into conspiracy theories.
Yeah. What's that first one that comes to mind that kind of took you there?
It was kind of like the government running drugs, that kind of.
Like the opioid stuff?
Yeah. But before that, this was like back in the 90s. So like,
okay,
weed, coke, stuff like that.
That the government was selling this stuff?
Well, the CIA maybe. There's,
Really?
dude, it gets deep.
Okay. I mean, I like a little appetizer of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just one of those things where, because of the jobs that I was doing with it, we were part of a drug task force called JTF-6, which still exists. It's part of Northcom, but we would assist. It was a military request. It was a request from, federal, state, or local law enforcement for assistance with the war on drugs. So with that being said, we did stuff in national forests where we would go find, grow operations. And then also there was mobile meth labs. So it's like some Breaking Bad stuff.
Yeah, but I say.
Yeah, seriously, like straight out of that. Like, I don't know the people that wrote Breaking Bad, but like, it's a thing.
They knew something. Yeah.
Yeah, they knew. Right. So in the national parks, and then, or they would just go out to remote areas. Right? So we had some of that. And then there was some border operation stuff too. And with that, there's some things that we saw and dealt with that were just shady, like not right. And it, had to deal with like National Forest Service planes and just planes that weren't marked, things like that. Like just not stuff that doesn't add up. So so with those experiences, then transferring it to then having a guy that I was in a platoon with who was like conspiracy theorist, like Alex Jones on steroids, man. This dude was like serious. And he had like literature, like pamphlets. And I was like, man, you're like people would be like, oh, he's a white supremacist or something at this point, right? But he had just pamphlets and all kinds of stuff on everything. So I started diving into that just because it was interesting. And, we're deployed. There's not a whole lot to do.
Right.
Yeah. That started me down that wormhole, rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that's, again, never left me, from 9/11. Then I was deployed. I was in the Army and deployed to Egypt I was there during 9/11.
Wow.
So we were actually there sitting on the Israeli border with Egypt, just making sure nobody starts shooting. And then all of a sudden airplanes start smashing into buildings in the US. And we were watching it on AFN.
AFN. Wow.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. In the afternoon, like we were in Egypt. So I want to say it was 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And we were getting up, like we had been doing guard duty and stuff. So I can't remember. Yeah, I had just like showered and come in, and all of a sudden there's this stuff on the TV. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, what's going on? And just for folks, AFN, that's like the network overseas.
It's the Armed Forces Network.
Yeah.
So they don't have commercials. So what it was is we were watching Good Morning America at 3, 4 in the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
And it was one of those points where they didn't have the commercials because they're not allowed to show commercials. So with Good Morning America, they have a backdrop picture of the live feed from Good Morning America. And then they have the scrolling temperatures from the cities in the US. And as that was happening, all of a sudden you just see this plume of smoke come out of the side, and we're like, what the, like my buddy's like, dude, what is going on here? And then they came back live and they're like, it looks like a plane smashed into the tower. And they're like, but we're not sure yet. Cause that was the first plane. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
No,
we
that's
watched
cool
the
though.
whole thing. And then once the Pentagon got hit, then all of a sudden our blast sirens went off and we all got sent to general quarters. So that was fun for the next month.
That's real, man. That's when you know shit was getting real, you know?
Well, and we're like, because we're in a foreign country and we're like, what is going to happen? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So they were freaked out that, you know, it was, who knows? You know, anything could have happened.
Yeah. I was in when that happened, I was just probably the second year in the military already. And I was in a skiff in a Goodfellow Air Force Base in the city of San Angelo, Texas. And came on TV. My supervisor was like, hey, everybody's watching this. Come watch this. And we were just all kind of like asking the same question, like, is this real? Like, what's going on? Is this a movie or something? They're like, no, like, you know, the plane just, you know, hit the tower. We're like, okay. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm probably like 19, maybe 20. And I'm thinking like, oh, okay, you know, there's a hole in the building. They're going to fix it later and whatever. And then came another plane, and we're like,
watching that other plane hit, you're like, wait a minute.
Wait, what is like, that looks pretty, yeah.
It's all wrong.
Yeah. So it's always interesting to ask people, where were you on 9/11? Like, how did you see it? But then compared to where we were at, compared to the ones that were like looking up at the building.
Yeah. Like I have friends that were down there, and
yeah,
it was insane.
Yeah. Did you see the documentary with like all the smoke, yeah, that's wild, right?
I mean, and there's lasting health effects from that stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. Hey, on a very side note, to circle back to real quick, the MySpace thing, I had looked it up, and yeah, Justin Timberlake bought it in 2011, June of 2011, for $35 million. And it's basically focusing on connecting artists and fans together and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, it's for anybody who cares. It's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing.
Works.
Your memory is good. Your memory is good. Okay, here's some random questions here, and just answer them as you see fit. Are you a flat Earth guy or a round Earth guy?
I am I would say I have round Earth tendencies.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
Because I'm not sold on either.
Okay.
I think it's something, obviously. I don't necessarily believe it's what they say it is.
That's a good point. Like if they're saying it's round, and then whoever also saying it's flat, what if it's neither, right?
Right. What if it's neither? What if it's something in between? I don't know. You know, so it's one of those things, like I'm non-committal in the fact that I don't play the, you know, I'm not part of the cult.
Yeah.
Because man, some of these folks get culty. Like it's not a religion here,
yeah,
folks. You know,
it's not a religion.
We live on a flat earth or not, but
yeah,
I lean globe. So, you know, but I've been given some good information here and there, but it still doesn't change the fact that I think we're a globe.
Yeah. And does it, and to you, does it matter?
No, it doesn't. I think at the end of the day, we're here. I mean, it's cool to know what you're doing, or what you're walking around on is whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Who cares? What's the difference? I'm not going to lose friends and get into fights over it.
Right. And you're not going to, put a wall between potential friends.
No. Or, you know, show me. I'm always interested in the info. I'll never be like, nope. You know, we're on a flat earth and that's it. Never. I just won't be that. Or and I'm not the other way either. I won't. I don't subscribe to that type of thinking either. So
yeah, I love that. I mean, it's like a fish. If you told a fish what they live in, would they really care?
Yeah. They just know they can't breathe when they get out of water. And put me back in it.
We're back in it, right?
You know,
Yeah.
I know that I don't breathe in water, drowned a couple times, you know, and it's not my element.
Yeah, it's natural element.
Not my element.
Literally.
Exactly.
Literally.
So
So Bennett, what about aliens? Where do you think they come from? Inside the earth, outside the earth, different dimensions?
I think I have a feeling. I have a feeling. Obviously, there's dimensions. I believe there is, but what that means exactly, I'm not sure. I just know there's things outside of our scope, right? Visually, the electromagnetic scope too. Meaning, and who knows how layered all this is, right? But with that being said, I'm not saying there's no outer space. I'm kind of on the with aliens. I think they're agents of the enemy, basically thinking like Fallen and or Nephilim, things like that are just created, right? And you know, it's a whole episode in itself.
I mean, this is you're the guest, man. I mean, I'm just curious to see how you vision this stuff.
I definitely I'm along those lines of like folks like L.A. Marzulli, kind of with that. I've just done a lot of research, you know, Gary Wayne, guys like that. I've done a lot of research on this stuff too. And that's for me, that's also where, because I do let my heart lead me some.
And where has that heart led you?
In a controlled way. It's led me to the fact that I think this is all a grand plan, right? And that the enemy has created this whole attempting to do this alternate reality to throw us off. And I think aliens are part of that whole thing.
Is there a difference between aliens and cryptid?
That is a good question. I am kind of in the camp, I'm getting more into the camp that they are part of if you go into the Bible, they talk about the beasts of the wild. And I think that they're part of this army necessarily, I guess is a good way to put it, put together by the enemy. And I don't think they're all bad inherently though. So I think some still look for redemption just like any other entity would. Right. And yeah, dude.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of, you know, I mean, so there was a DNA study. It's the Melba Ketchum DNA, and I'll catch a lot of flack for it, but that's fine. A woman did a DNA study with the help of like, you know, some good professional folks like Scott Carpenter and David Pilates, the 411 guy. You know, everybody knows who that guy is for the most part, the missing 411 stuff. And a whole bunch of other people collected samples, hair samples. I think they had one or two tissue samples, a bunch of different samples, and did DNA testing on it. This is the short version. Did DNA testing on it, and the mitochondrial DNA came back as human female. And the nuclear DNA, which signifies the father, came up unknown. So what does that say? I mean, you could take it a million different ways, but it was also one of those things is because I think they're like Nephilim to an extent where they're part human and part something else, whether it's angel, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
And some sort of, you know, creature, some sort of, I mean, that would make sense that, who knows? But
is it like, just to make sure that I understand, is it like the bastard childs of the angels, I guess? Is that
Yes, and that's what the Nephilim were, right? They were the giant. They were the offspring of you know, daughters of men and the sons of God, which are the fallen angels. And, you know, we've had tons of that stuff with Nephilim before and after the flood.
Yeah.
You know, so they're the ones that, you know, if you look at all these different depictions throughout time, you've got the demigods. That's who some of these folks were, but they're also what I would call little g gods.
Yeah. I call that too. The gods with the lowercase g. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that makes sense too, because like, you know, like when I was talking to Gary Wayne, he definitely planted that seed in my mind when he mentioned that some of these demigods or Nephilim, whatever, one, you know, like he mentioned one of them being Hercules. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. And then, you know, along with Hercules, a lot of these heroes, it goes back to what you were just saying, where some of these were looking for redemption in some sense. They were just like, hey, I'm I'm not a bad one. I actually like humans and things like that. So,
well, some of that evidence comes from, and a lot of people cite this, but the Bump podcast. If you've never heard of the Bump podcast, it's a great podcast. Check it out. But he had this woman on who had this long-standing relationship, maybe not long-standing, but she had a telepathic conversation with a Bigfoot, right? And it had told her that it was what is called an Eliud. And what an Eliud turns out they are, in essence, they are the offspring of Nephilim.
Where does that term Aliyu come from? What language?
The person, I'm not sure, and I've got to do more research on it. But the person that clarified that I heard was Gary.
Gotcha.
On what an Eliud actually is, and it basically that's what it is. It's the offspring of a Nephilim.
Yeah, and folks, I'll go ahead. I'll do the research, just at least for what that term is, and I'll put it on the video when you guys are watching. If you're listening on Spotify, catch the YouTube, or just Google it. So
I need to dig deeper into that, but
yeah,
bro.
Yeah, I know. There's
so much.
There's a lot to look into.
I mean, like literally, like you can't see them, but like I just got
notes. Yeah,
I got notes everywhere, and I like these sticky notes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I do, and I have them everywhere.
I like it how that's old school, that you have all the actual sticky notes. I actually have sticky notes, but they're actually all over my computer desktop. I use the digital ones and everything because I'm always pretty much on my computer. So when I open them up, there they are and everything.
Absolutely.
So, but that's interesting though. And again, Bennett, I like everyone's perspective. There is so much to dig into, and I think it's just better to whatever you're vibing with at the moment, whatever catches your interest. Maybe you might be like, for example, the Bigfoot thing might be something with you till you die, right? But then all of a sudden you may have a month where you're interested in this one thing, and then 2 weeks in this other thing, and it's all part of the process. I don't think you have to be like, when you have folks that are just into like one topic, it does make me question, well, how open are you? Because if this is all that you believe in, then okay,
Oh, and I think at the end of the day, they're all connected.
They're all connected. Yeah, I mean, everything's connected, right?
At the end of the day, and I'll say that again, I say that a lot. I'm trying to work on not saying it so much, but at the end of the day, everything's energy, right? So it all comes together.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, like take a moment from the heart, man. When you say everything's energy, man, what do you mean by that?
So, I mean, plain and simple, like no woo-woo fluff, right? And it's not religion. It's practice, right? It's energy you can channel energy. You can feel, and everyone feels energy, right? Things like, man, like people can tune themselves like a radio to energy, right?
Yeah.
To a higher station, to the high vibrations and all the things, the frequency, because you become attuned, right, to certain frequencies, and everybody has their own, that their tune is just a little different, but you can make it better, or you can make it worse, right?
Yeah.
Because
it's like when I like to always see with the whole radio metaphor, it's like when you're going through the channels and you can hear the music of a station, but it's still kind of distorted, right? And then when you fine tune it and you get to that right,
don't touch it,
right? That's kind of like what you're talking about. It just fine tuning it, right? It's always there, right?
I mean,
it's always there.
Every living thing carries energy.
Yes.
So everyone's felt it. Everything from like the vibe in the room after a fight or some sort of event, right? The electricity in the air before a storm. That's a big one. Like you feel it. And the gut feeling that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, or the hair on your arm stand up. You get the chills, even when you tell stories. I mean, that's energy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love it. Bennett, where do you, when I say, where do you think you're from? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, to an extent.
To an extent. So let me be clear. I'm not asking like, where were you born, the state you're from, hometown? Like, do you think you're either, some people think that they're from here, Earth, I was born in Texas, that type of deal, or some people think they're somewhere else. Where do you fall into that?
Yeah, I fall into the more of the somewhere else, like I mean, whatever you want to call it, heaven, whatever. I think that's where we belong. I
And
think
why
it's
do you
where we're
feel that
from,
way?
and I think that's where we're going to.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's home.
Why do you feel that way? Is it just based off everything that you've learned thus far? Is it just, has it been a feeling?
So so this is, I'm saying this with a caveat. I've had a near-death experience. The reason I say I've had one is because I was different when it was over. That's why I say I had one. Because I didn't have I walked with Jesus in the garden. I didn't have that experience. I didn't have the come to the light, all that experience. But what did happen to me is when I came back, things were just different. They looked different. Everything was different. And I now, since I was 19, I've been able to see auras around.
Do you remember any bit of that near death? Okay.
I just remember being, actually, before the lights went out, I just remember being real calm and real peaceful and just like, holy shit, this is it.
Yeah.
Wasn't freaking out. Wasn't, I drowned is what happened. And I just could not get to the surface. So I kind of had just given up to an extent. Like, I'm fighting a little battle. I'm not going to win here. And as soon as that happened, it's like this calm came over me, and I just remember everything coming in, and that was it. And then I remember waking up puking off the side of a Zodiac boat.
He's alive. He's alive.
Right.
Hey, man.
But I don't remember any snippets. Like, there's no like dreams that I've had.
Right.
Nothing.
But the feeling
that I came back. Right.
Yeah.
But I've had this, I guess you could call it ability now. And I also feel energy different, meaning I am attuned to it.
Did you start doing the Reiki stuff after your near death?
Yeah, after that, because I was never that guy. What?
Yeah.
This is all, hocus pocus and, woo-woo stuff. But that happened later. But I got into that, and, it's real.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I like the fact, whatever that experience did to you, even though I was never there to witness it, I can tell that today, as I know you are a very humble man. And you do a lot of things with the foundation of what I consider our essence, which is love, man.
Yeah, I love
everything that you do is with love and everything, and I like that about you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of those things that it's kind of not worth it otherwise.
Yeah.
And I used to be such an angry person, so angry.
Really?
And fought a lot. And I was that kid, man. I was that guy. Like I felt like, what's that guy's name? Character? Vin Diesel.
Oh, okay.
Knock around guys, man.
Wow. Okay.
I was just angry. All I wanted to do was fight people. And I've been in so many, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I got it out of my system, I guess. But I was never the guy that started the fights, but I jumped into a lot of them.
You jumped into a lot of them.
Because I always had those buddies that were, and I don't know if that was like me trying to be like the sheepdog or whatever, just
there's a different life, man.
Taking care of my guys.
Taking care of the guys, yeah.
It was always a good excuse to, be somebody.
Yeah. And it sounds like, based off of what you just said, it sounds like you're still doing that, but you're doing it differently now. You're doing it differently, and you resonate better with the way you're doing things now.
I'm always trying to heal people at this point. That's just what I want to do.
I mean, you're a Reiki master. I mean, yeah, you're definitely healing.
But yeah.
oh yeah, that's right. That's right. No, for folks, just well, Bennett, explain why is it that you don't like that master topic?
Because I'm never you're never a master of anything. Period. You're just not. And as soon as you think you are, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's for everything. That's for everything and everyone. And as soon as you think that you are a master at something, like the balls on this guy says he's a master. You know what I mean? Somebody's always better.
Right.
And you can take that to the bank everywhere. And whether you're religious or not, it doesn't matter. Somebody's always better than you at something.
Yeah.
Whatever your best thing is, there's always somebody better. So
absolutely,
you can always be better.
Is that
as soon as, and that's just drive, man.
Yeah. Bennett, is that an ego thing? If you think so? So do you consider ego as a negative part of you?
No, I don't. I just think it needs to be controlled.
Okay.
It's not other people's business. I mean, and that's how I kind of think of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've always tried to be, you know, action, not words. And I always find that usually when people brag about stuff like that, usually it's bullshit. I mean, not always, but you know, it's one of those things. Like I've done a lot in my life, man. I'm 51 years old, but I've done so much. I've had so many different jobs, professions, and this is the thing. I just can't stop diving in. So I have ADD, right? Period. And I just go from thing to thing to thing. And I circle back to a lot of things, but I just know enough to be dangerous about a lot of things. Right.
Yeah.
And so I've dealt with the, you know, loose lips, and I say things and put things out in the universe that it's not necessarily wrong, but it's nobody's business, nor do they want to hear it. Right. So I've learned that humility is the key. You don't talk about a lot of these things. And then in turn, if you don't talk about them like that they don't affect you negatively. That's what I've come to understand. Yeah. And you're not giving away your energy. Like, how many times have you seen people that have these dreams, right? And they go around and they tell everybody every detail about their dream. Then they never, ever, ever do anything, right? And they might have this dream forever, but in their mind, this is part of the issue. In their mind, they've already done it because they talked about it, made it real, right? It's energy. And their minds, in their minds, they've already done it. So they don't need to actually do it.
Yeah. And the message was for the dream, whatever you want to call it, was for them. And they haven't even taken the time to dissect it for themselves, because they're just talking about it like a movie that they watched the other day.
Correct.
And then your truest self is like, wow, okay, what was the point of that? You know?
I've already lived this. Why would I put all the effort in?
Yeah. That's wild.
So it's one of those things that I've learned, is to not talk about what I'm like. Unless it's done, don't talk about it. Right. So like,
yeah. You know what? That's a good point, because like one thing that I've done with my family for years, and my parents would do this with us, is that whenever we are going from a destination from point A to point B, unless you need to know, we don't tell people, hey, we're going to Brazil. No one needs to know that. You know, when we get there, then you may be like, hey, we're in Brazil, right? But if you're, because we believe that if there's, not everybody's going to be happy that you're going on vacation.
Yeah.
And there's going to be just one negative thought can really interfere with your whole, situation from point A to point B. So yeah,
it's like, how many times have you brought up, so one of my big things is entrepreneurship. And so how many times have you brought up a business idea to people, and all you hear is why it won't work?
Yeah. Speak it. Yeah. I hear you.
So if you get hit with all that negative nonsense, you're in the middle of starting a podcast or starting a new vlog or whatever, doing this, that, or the other thing. It's like, you'll hear me tell you I'm making a documentary, but I'm not going to tell you what it's about.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's those things that especially with creative work, because so many people in this world are not creative and they just don't get it. They don't get it. Like, man, everybody's got a podcast, and this is why your podcast is going to fail. I mean, how many times do you hear that shit?
Right.
And dude, nobody wants that in their life. So you got to learn to, what it was the Navy say, loose lips sink ships. That's this too. That is this absolute thing, is that if you got these ideas, folks,
just go do it.
hold on to them, write them down. Jesus, write them down.
Write them down.
Or make a memo note. I mean, you got it all now. I mean, you can do whatever with this thing.
Yeah.
But, and then cultivate that and go do it. Stop. Don't tell everybody what you're going to do. Why are you the good idea fairy?
Well, there's a lot of people that believe that if by telling people these great ideas, they look smart, they look creative, but it really doesn't. Like, it maybe it's gratifying for a moment. Hey, I had this great idea, and then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool." And then it's like, "Are you gonna do it?" Well, I mean, and it stops there.
Yeah, I don't even know how to start.
I know how to start it, but it's a great idea,
Well, I'm gonna do it. I'm taking your freaking idea. I'm out.
Hey, thanks for what do you call it? Idea fairy?
Yeah, the great idea fairy. I'm a partial owner in a company. And that's what I kind of am to that at this point. It's my retirement plan, hopefully.
Yeah.
But my job is I'm kind of just a good idea fairy.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy. So
if it works for you.
I love that stuff. I love solving problems. And that's all business is.
Yeah.
Business is solving problems.
Yeah.
Whether it's a product, podcast.
Yeah.
All these things. You're just solving problems or answering questions or even, just running your
I love that. I love that. Bennett, as we wrap up the show, because as podcasters, we could just go on forever and everything, right?
For sure.
So
I just looked at the clock when you said, I was like, holy crap.
No. It's we're good on time and everything, but like what I have to do better on is a lot of my episodes are like super long. I mean,
a
lot of mine are super long.
My longest are about this long.
Yeah.
About where we're at.
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty good about the hour.
Yeah.
It depends on who I'm talking to.
Exactly. But yeah, I just like talking to people and just hearing their story and everything. I mean, but I have to understand that, what this is, and sometimes short conversations are just enough. And if people want more, they'll ask for more. So folks, I am trying my best. I'm trying my best. And folks, if you enjoy a long podcast, let me know. Put it in the comment, give me some feedback and everything. If you listen to my show and you like a shorter version of something, let me know. Give me an example. Say, hey, episode so and so, just again, I'm all about, I do this podcast as a labor of love. So I don't get.
I'm making money.
Yeah,
really.
Bennett. Same with you and everything. We're doing the work. We're putting in the time to talk to interesting people and have these great conversations primarily it's for us, but it's therapeutic for us and everything. So we don't like talk our family's ear offs and things like that. Right. Right. And then on the other side of things, it's for you guys. Like you guys now have a place. You go to Broadcasting Seeds or you go to Beyond the Frequency 369 and you go and listen to these stories, these experiences, to learn about these new healing modalities, whatever the case is. But anytime that you find something interesting, I ask you guys, help me out, give me some feedback, throw down some comments, go to Broadcasting Seeds, listen to his show, drop some comments as well. We love all that stuff. That's how we make the show better for you guys. Right, Bennett?
Always. All the time.
Absolutely.
And we don't get nearly enough feedback. I wish, we get some, right? But not, I don't know. I guess I have to think about it because I'm a guy that does. So, I like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah.
Like I'm told
and everything, So,
so like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah. No. Let's do it. Let's do it here, folks. If you're enjoying the episode, like and subscribe. If you're viewing it on YouTube and Rumble, for me, to support me, if you're listening on audio, there's all these platforms. There's iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're hearing it. Rate the show because it helps the algorithm. And go do the same for Broadcasting Seeds, guys. Go out there, check out, scroll through his page. I guarantee you there's 1 or 2 episodes that resonates with you that you guys will enjoy. And like that one, subscribe to the channel because there's probably going to be more. If you like 1, you're going to like 2, you're going to like 3, and so on and so forth. So help us get our conversations out, not only CONUS, but also overseas and beyond the Antarctic wall and out into space. I mean, let's get it out there, right? That's too funny. Bennett, let me ask you these 6 questions that I ask all my guests, and there is no right or wrong answer, just yours. First question: beyond all the knowledge and experiences that you've gained thus far, what still leaves you in awe or makes you question everything?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is just the perceived, and I'll say this, the perceived expansiveness of all of this, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on for sure. Do we know that there's a universe that continues forever infinitely? Or is that all just right here, right? So that the perception of it just being could be so expansive, like just overloads. I guess that's the way I'm going to answer that.
What is the ultimate purpose of life?
Ultimate purpose to life, I think for us on this planet right now at this time, it's to experience and to learn what that feels like and live your life, right? And I don't know if you continue to, have other lives, because who knows if reincarnation, there's some pretty compelling evidence for it that, there's like this spot where we go and then we volunteer to go down again and learn again. It's not even volunteer, you choose. It's your choice, I feel like. Learn. So to me, I'm going to learn everything that, sings to me, hits me with that frequency. And if that's the case, that's what I think we're here for right now, for sure.
What, in your definition, in your current understanding, what is God?
My current understanding is that God is definitely an entity, an all-knowing, all-powerful kind of literal, it could be, because I get this kind of, he's everywhere. It's everywhere. That it's this source, I guess you would say, of all this energy. And I think it all comes down to, believe it or not, I think it all comes down to love and like that frequency. It's what speaks to me.
And that's a good segue to my next question, which is, what is love?
What is love? Well, I think love is the ability to, ability. That's not the right words. Love is frankly caring about something more than you care about yourself. I think at its base level. Yeah, I think that's how I'm going to answer that.
And Bennett, if you could go back to talk to little Bennett, what would you say to him?
Man, get out of it. Like,
what's it?
Just the whole situation that I grew up in.
I got you.
So get out of it. Like, so much I wouldn't change, but so much I would. So it's hard to say, I think one of it, the biggest, let's change my answer. That's part of it. But I think the biggest thing would be that literally just stop sweating the small shit. Like, there's so much that just doesn't matter. So much. Most of the things don't matter. And focus on, really like things that are close to you, whether, your kids, your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, the people in your zone. And that doesn't mean they're your family necessarily either. But really focus on the people in your life and not the bullshit.
There you go. And Bennett, where can people find you?
Broadcasting Seeds is YouTube, all the places, right? All the podcast places, I think YouTube, I think I'm on Rumble mostly. And then, all the audio. And then, just type it into the Google machine. It'll take you there.
The Google machine. So old school.
That's right. Right. Go to the YouTube.
And Bennett, what's one last thing you'd like to just say to the audience that's watching and hearing you on this?
Don't limit yourself because of what you think you can or can't, or what limits people have put on you, because that's usually what it is. Don't limit yourself to what you do or who you think what you think you can accomplish, because trust me, you can accomplish way more than you think you can. You just got to do it. So execute.
Spoken like a military man.
Yeah.
Well, Bennett, it was an absolute privilege and honor for you gifting me your time to come on my show and speak to my audience. And hopefully this conversation has done what the other episodes should have done to folks, which is trigger a remembrance of who they truly are before the world convinces them otherwise. And folks, again, I told you earlier, like, subscribe, rate the show. Go check out, Broadcasting Seeds on his social media, on his channel. See what he's getting into these days. If you guys like cryptid, Bigfoot, or just anything in between, right? And again, thank you for continuing to support my show and all the love on social medias. A lot of you have been giving me a lot more comments and feedback as of late. I appreciate all of that. I respond to the ones that continue to respect the guest, to respect me as well, and just understand that no one's picking sides on what we believe in. We all have what I didn't call it a belief. I always call it an understanding. We all have a current understanding of our current situation, of our reality. And a lot of these guests, to include myself, are just speaking from what we currently understand. It's fun, right? So if you like it and you enjoy it, show that love and support us, help these smaller podcasts grow and extend. And with that being said, folks, as a reminder, I love you, I see you, I hear you, I am you. Continue to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain and take a deeper look. Push forward, always reaching beyond the frequency.